boundary with Spain. But the Spanish government has announced that its ship, the Führer, will no longer escort the humanitarian flotilla en route to Gaza. In a statement, Spain expressed respect for the humanitarian mission, but strongly recommends that the flotilla not attempt to breach the Israeli naval blockade for safety reasons. Showcasing once again that ordinary citizens of good conscience are braver than the navies of numerous European governments. Think about that. These are people on dinghies. These are people on boats with baby formula on their fucking boats. And naval vessels are afraid of Israel's intensity and Israel's unlimited violence. But yeah, Meloni's statement was the most insane. Italy's Meloni says Gaza flotilla risks escalation, could blow up potential ceasefire deal.
When the left was all in.
Israeli foreign minister calls flotilla dangerous provocation intended to inflame tensions and undermine ongoing diplomatic efforts. First of all, the ongoing diplomatic efforts are bullshit. In a lot of plazas in Italy, people are blocking everything now. Read my last message. People will react to this in Italy. Yeah. I think the promises from Spain, Italy, and Turkey have been a bit overstated in the press and on social media. So just to say that no naval vessel from any country is officially with us after 150 miles from Gaza, we will be on our own, says Alex Colston, who is the story editor and journalist from Dropsite News, who's also on the Samud flotilla. They are violating their international obligation. The Houthis are more worthy for meeting their obligations in their attempts to stop the genocide. Oh, absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely. France is the same. People are reacting right now in Paris as well as in other cities. That's the direct U.S. line so far on the flotilla. She's falling in line with Trump's international fascist project. I mean, that's not surprising. She's a fucking fascist. The entire reason as to why these countries even said that they would send naval vessels was because of the incredible response from the respective populations. Okay? Work stoppages, general strikes like like what we saw in Italy, protests all over the fucking streets. That is the only reason why these countries even offered a symbolic state recognition to Palestine as a pressure valve. And that is the only reason why they would even entertain sending some kind of assistance as a protection measure. But it was exactly... It was for nothing. It was just all optics. It was completely fucking meaningless. These nations did not get together. Basically, it was just PR. The Greek vessels only allowed safe passage for the humanitarian flotilla through Greek territorial waters. The Turkish drones that were overseeing the Samud flotilla basically returned yesterday. They left. The Italian one was the most egregious. The Italian vessels actually made one more demand at the last point. One last demand with Giorgia Meloni coming out and saying one of the most insane things I've ever heard. Okay. Meloni came out and initially said, let's take the humanitarian aid from you and we'll deliver it. Okay. Then they said, go to Cyprus, redirect your ship to Cyprus. The Italians on board said, fuck you. We're going to Gaza. Okay. Then they tried one last time yesterday to say, "Oh, let's redirect to Ashkelon." Okay? Let's redirect the ship to Ashkelon, the Israeli port, and then we'll deliver the aid that way. And then they all departed. And the only country that I thought could potentially go through with it and allow the humanitarian aid ship to go all the way in to the Gaza back.
Any further attempt to sail toward Gaza endangers your safety and places you within an active war zone. If you continue on your route and attempt to breach the naval blockade, we will stop your vessel and act to confiscate it through legal proceedings in court.
Now, let's just bring you up to date on our top story this evening. The Flotilla, roughly a 42-vessel convoy, and you can see the images of that flotilla on our screens right now. Some of the vessels that have been intercepted.
There's audio recordings from the Global Samud Flotilla and is addressed to the IOF. Thiago puts an IOF soldier on the spot.
An attempt to breach the naval blockade. We will stop your vessel and act to confiscate it through legal proceedings in court. You bear full responsibility for your actions.
Say that we are entering an active war zone. You're saying that we are entering a place where we are committing war crimes. This is against international law. Once again, the International Court of Justice made a provisional ruling that any attempt to hinder a humanitarian mission to Gaza is prohibited by international law and is complying with the request to make you accountable for the crime of genocide. The International Criminal Court has your Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, under an arrest warrant for the crime of starving children and starving people to death using starvation and famine as a weapon of war. Therefore, it's our moral duty to continue sailing. It's our moral duty to refuse any attempt of an occupying force to control humanitarian aid for the Palestinian people in Gaza who have the right of their sovereignty, who have the right of their self-determination, and to control their own borders. Therefore, we do not recognize you as a legitimate agent to control any attempt to bring aid to the Palestinian people in Gaza. We request you to stand down, to do not commit another war crime among so many that you've been committing, and to stand down. Do not engage with our peaceful, non-violent, humanitarian solidarity mission for the Palestinian people in Gaza. I advise you again.
Also, here's a funny thing from Israel, of course. The Israeli Navy has released a video of one of their lieutenants calling the Samud Flotilla to surrender its aid. In keeping with recent IDF policy to avoid foreign tribunals over Gaza, she faces away from the camera.
You are approaching a blockaded zone. If you wish to deliver aid to Gaza, you may do so through the established channels. Please change your course toward the port of Ashdod, where the aid will undergo a security inspection and then be transferred into the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, they can't show their faces, by the way. Shouts out to the Hind Rajab Foundation for actively documenting all of the Israeli occupational forces terrorists who have foolishly documented themselves engaging in fucking war crimes. But this is the new IDF policy. This is the official IDF policy for like the past half of a year now. Where whenever they show like their brave warriors and whatnot, whenever they show their brave warriors, they do this thing where they shoot the back of their head. Why can't the Dems do this? Gather the Place de la République in Paris. We demand the immediate release of the crews in the Global Samud Flotilla. Bro, what the hell? They're already... What the fuck? Bro, no way. Hold on now. God damn, these motherfuckers mobilize so fast, bro. The one shitty thing is that I'm not my fucking I brought my IRL backpack. The one shitty thing is my OBS is busted right now, so I would have to most likely go offline and then online again. Do you see this? Like it doesn't show bit rate and it's not connecting. So even if I were to go to this, I would have to go offline and then online again. But I don't even know how I would go offline. Hold on. March is waking up. You know what? I think it's worth it. I think this would be very cool for us to cover. Let's see. I'm also tired as fuck, but American politics so much. What a fucking clown show. What a fucking clown show. White House doubles down. Sombrero videos playing in the briefing room. Fucking awesome, man. That's fantastic. Thank you.
The Trump administration unlawfully.
Anyway, deportation threats against demonstrators violates the First Amendment, judge rules. Which, remember, another Hasanabi victory here for all of my fucking dumbass naysayers who don't understand that the American Constitution protects citizens and non-citizens alike, and that threatening to deport people once they are on U.S. soil for exercising their First Amendment rights is unconstitutional. It turns out this fucking Reagan appointee judge also recognized that reality. Turns out I wasn't alone for saying this. Except if you ask every dumb fuck YouTuber who just simply has a reactionary position and doesn't know anything about American politics or is barely fucking literate, they all consistently talked about how, you understand, immigrants don't have the same rights as Americans do in the Constitution. You know, you're wrong. They do. They do. They do. They do. They do. You fucking idiot. They do. So confidently fucking wrong. Remember we were watching the fucking First Amendment, the civil rights lawyer. I think it was like Ari Cohen of fire.org having to duke it out with dumb fucks in his fucking replies being like, excuse me, sir, do you know what you're talking about? It's like, yeah, as a matter of fact, I do. This is my literal livelihood, okay? This is what I do for a fucking living.
Use the threat of deportation to silence campus demonstrators. The judge ruled that the administration's policy of seeking to deport pro-Palestinian students blatantly violates the First Amendment. The judge also found that the deportations were intended to strike fear and punish political speech. ABC News legal contributor, professor at Hofstra Law, James Sample, joins me now for more. James, the judge says non-citizens lawfully in the United States unequivocally have the same rights as the rest of us. How significant is that? And what does it mean for those arrested in these protests?
It's literally not even significant. It's not supposed to be significant. The only reason why this is seen as a landmark decision is because the administration is violating the First Amendment. It's just the law, okay? It's like saying, how significant is it that the police arrested a rapist murderer? It's not significant at all. Except it would be significant if cops were just letting rapist murderers go all the fucking time for some weird reason, and then one cop on accident actually ended up arresting one. Then you'd be like, wow, how significant? It shouldn't be significant at all. It's just called the fucking law. The significance here is that the federal government is not following the letter of the law and the constitutional restrictions.
Diane, it is significant, and that particular aspect of the opinion is just reinforcing what has long been the case. It's not true in every single context, but the First Amendment does apply to individuals who are in the United States, if they are in the United States legally, and these individuals they were on student visas and in situations like that. And what it basically, this particular opinion boils down to, we're talking about an 84-year-old appointee of Ronald Reagan. This is a dyed-in-the-wool judicial conservative who has been around for a long time, and he says that he has never, in this opinion, seen anything like this in terms of government suppression of viewpoint-based speech on the basis of viewpoint. It is a 160-page opinion. It is a tour de force vis-a-vis the First Amendment, and it includes...
Why do they extend funding till November and Dems win midterms? Am I dumb? What are you talking about, man? They're literally trying to salvage what remains of Medicaid funding. They're doing this for you. They're doing this for the chuds. The fuck do you mean? Also, they're low-key kind of doing this so they can win the midterms, maybe, because, like, they realize, even the Democrats have recognized that their inaction, even the Democrats have recognized that their fucking inaction is causing, what is this, Roach talking about permanent residence? Yeah, I mean, I already covered this. I covered this at the time. Yes, this is Asmongold confidently saying something wrong once again, believing that legal permanent residents aren't allowed to believes legal permanent residents aren't allowed to live in America. They're not allowed to say whatever the fuck they want to say. They're not protected by the First Amendment.
And he wasn't meeting that
Anyway, I don't want to fucking talk about Asmongold, okay? Who cares?
Some unusually strong language, particularly from somebody who's been on the bench for that long. This is a victory for the First Amendment. It is a loss for Kristi Noem and for Marco Rubio. And
don't go. You don't even speak French. I was supposed to go tomorrow night. I was supposed to go to the tomorrow night's protest. That's the one that they told me was happening. But I guess because they got intercepted tonight, they might be doing something right now. Hold on. Dude, the French love their fucking protest, man. It's crazy. If you want to go, Place de République, I would say go tomorrow. Today will not go for so long because of the train situation at night. What do you mean? You could kill OBS via Task Manager to get the not like this screen so you won't go fully offline. Yeah, the problem is wait, is this a fucking protest? No, this is not. This is Al Jazeera. You're sending me Al Jazeera. All right, we'll see. We'll see. Listen. We'll see. It's pertinent on a couple different things. 2 a.m. the metro is closed and it's midnight. Okay, bro. It's not 2 a.m. yet. It's 11:30. We are too soft in France nowadays. We need to be more tough. I know there's a huge protest in France tomorrow, which I was going to go to. Video on the ground. %, il y va vraiment tout le monde. En solidarité. Yeah, I mean, this isn't the big one. The big one's tomorrow. Anyway, let's continue.
in international waters. The Israeli Foreign Ministry has said that they are in an active combat zone. Those on board say they are in international waters, and what they're doing is absolutely legal. But we've got an update now from the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They say that, and this is a quote from an ex-post that they've put up, they've said, already several vessels of the Hamas Sumud flotilla have been safely stopped and their passengers are being transferred to an Israeli port. Greta and her friends are safe and healthy. And you remember Greta Thunberg was detained and then deported a few months ago. There are roughly about 500 people from around the world, part of this flotilla, about 42 vessels full of aid, things like baby formula, based on what they were telling me. I was speaking earlier to David Adler, a flotilla crew member, on the phone, and they were saying they were basically waiting now and expecting the Israeli authorities, the military, to board the vessels and detain or take them off the vessels. Of course, there are some 42 of these vessels in that convoy, the largest that they've ever had, with roughly about 500 people on board, as I said, from around the world, trying to make their way towards Gaza. Partly symbolic, because this situation...
Dude, we all know why they said they're Hamas, okay? It's to justify what comes next. That's it. And I think the fact that they said this time, like, oh, they're actually funded by Hamas or some shit, makes me feel like they'll apprehend some and then might do something worse to others if they haven't stopped every single boat so far.
Was totally predicted based on the previous flotillas that we've seen, whether it was in 2010 or in different times in the past couple of years. They've been intercepted and deported. There was a violent escalation in 2010 where almost 10 people were killed, but there were assurances given by the Israeli Foreign Ministry to the...
And the reason why I'm saying this, is slated to be worse, is because although that was also unacceptable and horrifying, this is worse because it's just anything and everything that is political dissent. Not even shit that they've designated as like radical forms of speech, ideas that they think are subversive. Now everything is subversive.
Persuasive, most powerful rebukes of the administration since Trump took office. But it is just a federal district court ruling. The next step involves the discovery process. And the judge said after a 9-day bench trial, he has yet to see evidence that there was any...
Like we're talking about a party that says Chuck Schumer is Antifa. Nancy Pelosi's a communist. Do you understand? Like that's no longer just like thinkers and revolutionary figures, anarchists. Like we're talking a party that says Nancy Pelosi is a threat is going to be a party that will absolutely choose to just shoot and kill people like me. That's just the way I see it. Like if they consider Jimmy Kimmel to be engaging in speech worthy of engaging in any sort of speech worthy of like the FCC kicking in and censoring, is a party that is not even going to do that to me. They're going to do something so much worse to people like myself.
Basis for the administration to do what it did, apart from viewpoint-based discrimination. Essentially, I mean, we're talking about a student at Tufts University, a doctoral student, a woman who wrote an op-ed in the student newspaper at Tufts that took a pro-Palestinian position. If taking that position, whatever one thinks of the position, is problematic to the point of having your visa revoked, the judge says, then that is anathema to everything that the United States stands for. The precedent that this sets will depend on whether whether or not this ruling is appealed to the First Circuit, and then beyond that to the Supreme Court of the United States. But for now, this is another example of lower courts reining in the Trump administration, even though the Supreme Court has rubber stamped many of the things that he likes to do.
And James, an appeals court is vacating a previous ruling that Trump can't invoke the Alien Enemies Act to deport suspected Tren de Aragua gang members. Now that full court will rehear the case, and it's expected to make it all the way back to the Supreme Court. What are you watching for there?
I think that there's very little question, Diane, that the Supreme Court will have to take this case up again. It took it up on a shadow docket emergency appeal basis earlier in the year and basically punted. It said that individuals are entitled to due process, but the Supreme Court stopped well short of demanding any particular action be taken in an immediate sense. The question of whether the government can simply declare that someone is an alien for purposes of the Alien Enemy Act without due process is about as fundamental to due process as you can get.
All right, ABC News legal contributor James Sample, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we are going to talk about the global Samud Flotilla vessels. When I first started the broadcast 4 hours and 22 minutes ago, they were right about to be intercepted by the Israeli naval blockade. 4 hours later, Greta Thunberg has been arrested and apprehended, and they are deploying water cannons on some of the
not
vessels.
For fame, but rather to keep all eyes on Gaza, which has been the message from this flotilla right from the beginning. Its whole purpose is to draw the world's attention to Gaza, for people to speak about Gaza.
Here's the Novara media.
And to remind their governments that the danger...
Where are you at? I'm in France.
Those on board the flotilla are putting themselves in is nothing compared to the danger that Palestinians living in Gaza...
So the military escorts were all a trick. I think with the exception of the Spanish one, but I guess the Spanish one is also not doing shit. I covered it. I mean, I didn't cover it, but I posted about it yesterday. But
the Trump administration, but it is only the beginning of this particular story.
This is one of the most blistering rulings since Trump took office. What sort of precedent could this set?
It is absolutely, Diane, a blistering ruling, and certainly one of the most...
Like, in the history of the United States of America, there have been dark periods where the First Amendment has been violated, okay, by the federal government. McCarthyism is a great example of this. The active threats and the infiltration of revolutionary black liberation groups, the assassination of black leaders. Like there has the Red Scare period, obviously, Vietnam War protests. Like there have been plenty of instances, right? And as far as mass surveillance at the domestic level, you have the Patriot Act. Post-Patriot Act, you have all the Muslim population dense areas that the American government openly and very deliberately surveilled, and also engaged in ridiculous detentions. Having said that, up until this moment in American history, it has never been this pervasive and this indefensible, this out in the open. All of those other periods of the erosion of numerous constitutional protections, whether it be search and seizure, whether it be the First Amendment, like all of that has created an opportunity, created an environment for Donald Trump to seize on said opportunity. But the point that we've gotten to now is, I think the point that we've gotten to now is if, and I hope I'm wrong about this, like if Donald Trump gets his wishes across, it will make the Red Scare look like a joke. Okay? And that was completely unacceptable. That was unconstitutional. But what Donald Trump is trying to do right now, if we don't stop it, will make the Red Scare look like a fucking joke. I don't think this is hyperbole. And I say this as someone who would have been impacted during the Red Scare anyway. You know what I mean? If I was who I am right now back then, I would also still be impacted regardless and violate the Israeli blockade as Israel is conducting its genocide. And put their naval vessels on the line and their own militaries on the line to force Israel to stand down. And here we are.
You are instructed to change.
Liebe Freunde, das hätte eine ganz friedliche Veranstaltung werden können. Eine ganz friedliche, angemeldete Veranstaltung. Die Polizei hat die Veranstaltung eskaliert. Sie sind auf uns los.
Remember, these countries also are worse than some other places. Like in Germany, like you're liable for arrest. Reports of protests in Berlin and all over Turkey. There's also been a steady stream of condemnation, but who cares? Here's Rome. From Al Jazeera Arabic, but this is the Rome. Yeah, you want to see how fucking stupid this is? This was the Israel Foreign Ministry exposed. Official Hamas documents found on the Gaza Strip now reveal for the first time proof Hamas's direct involvement in the funding and execution of the Samud Flotilla to Gaza. Okay? It's not even, it's fucking George Galloway. Okay? This is George fucking Galloway. I don't even know if that's George Galloway. This is a random dude. Not even George Galloway. Okay? They are showing George Galloway next to Ismail Haniyeh, who is dead, okay, who was killed by Israel. This is a different person and not even George Galloway, okay? And they're claiming that George Galloway is Hamas, I guess. And they're saying that the Palestinian Conference for Palestinians Abroad was established in 2018 and functions as Hamas's representative body abroad. Bullshit. Okay, not even true. One, that is George Galloway, a British politician, not Hamas. Two, this is just Israel still trying to create a public justification for a violent attack against a humanitarian mission. The other guy's Palestinian Chuck Schumer. Yeah, this is Chuck Schumer after he heard Donald Trump call him a Palestinian. Except, no, I think he's like some Pakistani politician or something. So he's not even George Galloway. He's just a Pakistani unk. It's so crazy, man. Israel could just say anyone is Hamas and like European governments will literally follow through on it and they will arrest you. There's a protest in Berlin. At the central station. We should all sell seats to the flotilla to celebrities like Katy Perry went to outer space. Yeah, Katy Perry ain't going on a fucking flotilla to Gaza. Let's be real. There are demonstrations in Rome. There's demonstrations in Brussels, Turkey. Gustavo Petro has announced the cancellation of the free trade agreement with Israel and kicks Israeli diplomats out of Colombia. And CGIL in Italy has called for a general strike on Friday. Maybe Jennifer Lawrence would? Fuck no, bro. Jennifer Lawrence was like talking big shit, defending fucking Amy Schumer after October 7. Okay? Up until like April of 2024, Jennifer Lawrence was like, Amy Schumer is so brave for speaking her truth. It's a big fuck you to the rest of the world. Meanwhile, what was her truth? Just being fucking annoying. Yeah, J-Law recently changed their mind. Anyway. Well, yeah. Italy's largest union, with over 5.5 million workers, has called for a general strike on Friday in solidarity with the global cement flotilla. And smaller Italian unions have said they will join CGIL's general strike. Goats. Fucking awesome. Fucking amazing. Can you summarize what happened with the government shutdown? No. There's a rewind function now if you're a subscriber, okay? The Piker Broadcasting Service now offers a rewind function as long as you are a subscriber. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. Okay? There's no ad breaks, but if you subscribe, your voluntary contributions in the form of a $6 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime allows you to use a bunch of cool emotes all around the website, all around the broadcast, clip the broadcast if you choose to do so. And now it will allow you to, as long as you're watching on a desktop, rewind the stream. Also, the gifted sub, 35% off ended. September, unfortunately, ended. But does the Piker Broadcasting Service approve of massive natural granons? What is that, like granny cannons? Disgusting capitalist. This is true. It's capitalism when I do a call for people to subscribe to an otherwise free broadcast that I don't even fucking run ads on or take any sponsorships on, and literally tell you that you don't even have to subscribe. That's what capitalism is. Famously, that's how it works. Like when you go to a ice cream shop, you can just get it for free, right? You can just get the ice cream for free, but the owner of the ice cream shop says, hey, you can pay if you want. You don't have to. It's free. But if you want to, you can pay. And then you donate voluntarily. And that's capitalism. All right, let's get back to the article.
Israeli naval forces issued a warning to activists on board one of the flotilla boats. You'll see the response of one of those activists, Tiago Avila.
This is the Israeli Navy. You are approaching a
war criminal
blockaded zone. If you wish to deliver aid to Gaza, you may do so through the established channels. Please change your course toward the port of Ashdod, where the aid will undergo a security inspection and then be transferred into the Gaza Strip.
We advise you that we are a humanitarian, non-violent solidarity mission to break the illegal siege imposed by Israel 18 years ago against the Palestinian people in Gaza and to create a humanitarian corridor. We carry only food, aid, we carry water filters, we carry crutches, we carry baby formula for the people that you've been starving to death. I repeat, you've been committing genocide for 8 decades and ethnic cleansing against the Palestinian people, and that is absolutely against international law. Once again, we are in international waters, which is not your jurisdiction. We are heading to Palestinian territorial waters, which is not your jurisdiction, despite the fact that you think you can occupy that land, but all of this is completely illegal. The highest judicial authority in the world, the International Court of Justice, in their provisional rulings on the case opened by South Africa against you for the crime of genocide clearly stated that you are prohibited to hinder any humanitarian mission to get to Gaza. Once again, in a planet of 8 billion people, people despise you starving children to death, bombing hospitals, schools, and shelters. We are here with the conscience of the world, moving peacefully in a non-violent humanitarian mission to take this aid.
Israel's defense minister today said Gaza City was nearly fully encircled, the last chance for civilians to get out. On the coast road, those able to flee on foot, afford the cost of transport, of somewhere to sleep at the other end, were doing so as the city behind them continued to be pounded.
Everything's being fired at us. Everything's destroyed. There are explosions everywhere. There's nothing left for us.
Another reason for this renewed scramble, Israel's warning that this road would soon be partially blocked. The Israeli military said the checkpoint would be placed on the intersection of the Al-Rashid coastal road and what Israel calls the Netzarim corridor. Civilians would still be allowed south with inspections, but travel north back towards Gaza City would be...
The hospital in Kunduz and killed 2 Doctors Without Borders doctors at the time. And I'm sure like other doctors have been killed, but they hadn't like officially withdrawn from an area. Yeah, Doctors Without Borders suspending medical work in Gaza City due to Israel's violence, including airstrikes and tanks less than 1 kilometer from their facilities. Comes same day as Netanyahu uses UN speech to scold dozens of nations for accusing him of committing war crimes. The entire point of Doctors Without Borders is that they literally operate in conflict zones, and they're supposed to be like a white human shield. So there are still
PTSD. Well,
I guess there are still some ships that are on the flotilla that haven't been intercepted yet.
Yesterday, Donald Trump gave Hamas 3 to 4 days to respond to his peace plan, which would see...
Weren't Italy, Colombia, and Turkey going to help them? I already covered it. They withdrew at the last second. Even Spain. Spain was the only one that I thought maybe would keep their naval carrier, their naval vessel, to push through the blockade. And 150 miles off the coastline, they all withdrew.
It release all Israeli hostages and commit to permanent disarmament. Conflicting reports today on the early signals coming from Hamas leaders in Doha. Worth remembering that while the world has watched in real time Gaza's descent into horror, its people have been...
Yeah, a couple days ago, there was a nurse that was directly shot with a fucking quadcopter, by the way, in the head. A nurse working in a hospital was shot in the head by a quadcopter. A quadcopter sniped him in the head. He's in like full fucking nurse gear in the hallways of a fucking hospital on camera. Just listen to the new TrueAnon about the story of the saboteur on the flotilla. Wait, what the fuck? Someone leaked that to... I didn't know that was public knowledge. Yeah. There was yeah. I mean, I've been talking to some people on the fucking ships as well. I thought that it wasn't. I thought that they didn't like leak it, but I guess someone leaked it. Yeah, there was a saboteur. A little correction, that might not be the former Pakistani senator in the photo that Israel lied about. It's definitely not George Galloway, but I was wrong in my assumption. The two individuals look so similar. I mean, it's not George Galloway. Certainly, as Israel is claiming. Also, George Galloway is not Hamas.
Inching the world's response, perhaps never more closely than now.
The choices are difficult.
Oh, I mean, I guess I understand why people are directly attacking her because, I mean, she's been attacked endlessly from virtually every single different ideological background on the internet. And therefore there is a lot of there's a lot of things that you can pull from, smears or even like valid critiques or whatnot, but it's not about her reporting. And as a reporter, as a journalist, when you are criticizing someone's reporting, you have to criticize their reporting. You can't just like criticize who they are or what they've done or what other people think about this person. Okay? Even if you have disagreements with them. Sean the Black, the leaked contract corroborated the Wired reporting on certain things, so Brian is just lying / misrepresenting. Yeah. After ignoring my repeated requests for comment prior to publication, Chorus finally responded today. We have incorporated their comment into the piece, but have not issued any corrections on our reporting. The facts of the story remain unchanged. I'm going to look at this video as well. This is 10 minutes long. Jesus Christ. It's just, I do think, can you back up and explain what's even being talked about? Yes. Originally, Taylor Lorenz writes a investigative report on the Wired magazine about a powerful dark money group that's secretly funding high-profile Democratic Party aligned influencers. Big liberal content creators are being paid up to $8,000 per month to push party messaging. Okay. Democrats hope that the secretive Chorus Creator Incubator program, funded by a powerful liberal dark money group called 1630 Fund, might tip the scales in their favor after Kamala Harris's stunning loss to Trump last fall. The program kicked off last month, and over 90 influencers are allegedly taking part. Creators told Wired that the contract stipulated they'd be kicked out and cut off financially if they even so much as acknowledged that they were part of the program. According to copies of the contract viewed by Wired, so they did actually get these contracts, and they did view these contracts, that creators signed. The influencers are not allowed to disclose their relationship with the Chorus or the 1630 Fund or functionally that they're being paid at all. Creators in the program are not allowed to use any funds or resources that they receive as a part of the program to make any content that supports or opposes a political candidate or campaign without express permission from their funders. With this structure, it avoids a lot of public disclosure or public disclaimers, paid for by blah, blah, blah that you see on political ads. We don't need to deal with any of that. Your names aren't showing up on like reports filed with the FEC. So there's two different things here, okay? Normally, if you are paid for by a political activist, a political advocacy fund, right? If you're paid for by like a political action fund, right? Or any sort of campaign, you actually, a lot of people don't know this, you don't actually have to disclose that that's an ad. And the reason for why, I think it's really indecent that this exists to begin with. But the reason for why you don't have to is because technically it's all public. It's all public on the regulatory side, because if you go and like look at the Progressive Victory Fund, for example, you can find exactly who they have given money to for what purpose, right? We did that when I was covering the Wired magazine article as well. So because of that,